Tonight we're going to talk about how to display data and how to describe data. So first you need to open your notebook to page 158. Make sure you've titled the top of the page displaying data and that you've labeled the flaps of the foldable the way I have on the screen right now. Once you're done, let it continue. So the first thing we're going to look at is the top left that is on Boxplots. You've seen these before. They summarize data using the median, upper quartile, lower quartile, and extremes. So here we have our little 5-number summary that we learned how to get on the calculator today. And your maximum is the point on the right, your minimum is the point on the left, and then my upper quartile, median, and lower quartile are the lines in the middle that make a box. So what we need to focus on more is interpreting it. So knowing that this middle line here is the median. So that means that I have 50% above and 50% below that point. Moving to the right, this looks something like you've seen before, like a bar graph, but the difference is that there are no gaps between the bars on this. And my data is divided into consecutive intervals. So if you look at the labels at the bottom, they're all grouped. And the number of elements in the interval determines how high it is. So for instance, this bar here looks like it's about 50 or 55 high. So that means that, and look at my table, 53 people. We're in the 60 to 79 group, not so hot. Moving down into the left, here we have a dot plot, which sometimes we call a line plot because it displays data on a number line. And it's useful to find the mode, to look at extremes, or to see outliers. So for instance, I can see clearly here that my mode is 5. And I have this little 7 kind of hanging out over there. So depending on the type of data, I will want to use a different way to represent it. And last, what we've looked at is a scatter plot, which shows a relationship or correlation between bivariate data. So if our slope is positive, then that means it's a positive correlation. If it's negative, it means we have a negative correlation. And if it seems random, then there's no correlation. So looking at that graph, it seems like we have a negative correlation. So that just pulls together some things that you should have seen in middle school and during the last week. What's going to be new is what we're putting on page 160, and that is going to be on how to describe data. So you want to title that page Describing Data. And the first thing we're looking at there is symmetry. If we use the word symmetry, then we are implying that data is distributed the same above and below the middle. So here's my mean, and my data is symmetrical because I have half of the values are above and half are below. So this is going to be when my mean is pretty much the same as, approximately, my median. In contrast, I'm going to move down, is when we have something and we say it's skewed. And this tells us how the spread is distributed among the data. A distribution is said to be skewed in the direction of the longer tail. That is really important. So if we say it's skewed to the left, it means that the mean is less than the median. If we say that it is skewed right, it means that my mean is greater than the median. So if I look at this little dot plot here, I have my lonely little X out here over by 9. So we would say it's skewed left because that's my outlier. So my average is going to be pulled towards my outlier. Kind of like if we look at the basketball players' heights and add my height into it. Another thing we talk about is peaks, and this is going to show very easily the mode of the data. When there is more than one mode, we call it bimodal. So, for instance, the graph on the left is bimodal because 20 and 40 both occurred 3 times. Say I don't have any differences, then we would say that it has absolute comparability between the 2 sets of data, and it implies a consistent lack of variation. So we would call what's on the left a uniform distribution. It's also symmetric because if I cut it down the middle, it ends up being a mirror image of itself. So tomorrow we're going to look at different data sets and how to describe them and how to compare them, so make sure you've studied the vocabulary. And work on your released form because it's due on Monday.